Hey, beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sonya. I am a certified life coach, self-love advocate, and registered nurse here to help you heal so that you can date in a healthy, safe manner and build healthy relationships. Today, we are talking about trauma bonding and how to recover and to rebuild from a traumatic relationship, a toxic relationship, and to recover from a trauma bond. This was a subscriber's request. Thank you so much, Danita, for this request. I hope I answer your questions. I hope this video helps you, and your other requests will be coming soon. So let's get started on trauma bonding. Today we're going to talk about what trauma bonding is. We're going to talk about how it's done, and then we're going to talk about ways to heal and recover from this trauma bond. Okay, let's get started. Trauma bonding is when the victim of an abuser is bonded to that abuser. They feel the need to protect them, to hide, to make excuses for their behavior, their abusive behavior, and the situation overall. It happens slowly most of the time. It's very methodical. A lot of the times it is part of a grooming process. So you're groomed to be in the position of being bonded to this person and protecting this person. There's a lot that comes to play here. There's a lot of psychological games and mental games that are played to get you into this place, but we're going to talk about that today. So let's talk a little bit about grooming. Grooming is a slow, methodical process. The goal of grooming is to, number one, gain your trust. 2, disarm you. 3, dependence. They need dependence. They need you to depend on them so that they can gain whatever it is that they want from you. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's power, sometimes it's just control, sometimes it's sex, sometimes it's all of the above. It just depends. Sometimes it's supply, it's just whatever it is that they want from you. And they have to groom you. And what they need to do is they need you to trust them, to be reliant on them, and you need to be disarmed and vulnerable. There are various manipulative tactics that are used in the grooming process. We're going to talk about some of them today. First, we usually have the identification stage. Let me identify this person and what it is that I want from them, and if I feel like you'll be the right person for me to prey upon. That's usually like kind of how it looks. And they look for people who may have issues with self-esteem, don't have family, are really lonely or hopeless, or really kind of just need someone to love on them and show them some affection or some admiration. You know, they see that and they decide, I'm going to be or become what they need so that this person can trust me and want to be with me. The love-bombing stage is where they get a lot of information from you and they morph into exactly who you want or you need, right? This is why I always say be careful about telling too much about yourself initially until you understand the intentions of the person that's asking the questions, right? Or you can manage what it is that you're telling. So if you can tell some things that won't allow you to be manipulated, okay. But if they can use this to manipulate you, then be very mindful about sharing that information. But in love bombing, they say all the right things. They do all the right things. They become exactly who you want and who you need. There's a hormone, oxytocin, that is released once you two are intimate. And then there's dopamine, because that's that attraction. So you have all of these hormones, which is another reason why it makes it so hard to break your trauma bond. You have these hormones that are released that are affiliated with this person. They made you feel good, right? Oxytocin is called the love hormone. During intimacy, those hormones are released and they are related and connected to that person. So that is one of the ways. Not only do they shower you with whatever it is they feel like you need or you said that you are missing, whatever they view as a weakness from you, they shower you with all of those things. They become exactly who you want. And then during the intimacy process, and it doesn't necessarily have to be sex. It could just be hugs or touch. Everybody is different. During that phase, when those hormones are released, you are now more attached and attracted to them. They also do a lot of future faking in this stage, and that is when they talk about the future. So if they know you want to be married, they'll talk about marriage. I can't wait till we get married. You guys have known each other for 2 days and you've planned out your whole future together, right? They know nothing really, really about you as far as if you'll make a good wife or not. But they'll tell you you're going to be the best wife in the world. I know you're going to be the best mother in the world. We're going to have such a great life. They tell you all of these things, but the knowledge that they have of you doesn't match what they say is going to happen. And I'm telling you, you feel this in your gut. You have to learn to trust yourself. But that's part of the grooming stage too. They'll do a lot of future faking. They'll talk about the future all the time, knowing they have no intention of having that future with you. They have no intention of getting married. This is a time where you have to be very careful. In the beginning of a relationship, you really have to learn to listen and try to learn the person, and don't try to sell yourself. This is not the time to sell yourself. The beginning of the relationship is a learning. When you are dating, learn the person. Don't sell yourself, because the mask will come off. They're going to always tell the truth. You just have to listen for it. But yes, there's a lot of future faking during the love bombing stages. So after they've gotten you hooked on feeling good, like a drug. It's like a drug. They give you this high, and they make you feel so good, so wonderful. Everything is just so great. Then it's time for the tear down stage, right? It's time for the little digs, and it's time to alter your reality. One of the ways they alter your reality is a manipulation tool called gaslighting. Gaslighting is not solely done by narcissists. I want to make that clear. And so what they want to do is alter your reality, and they'll do little things. So say you guys were supposed to meet up at 4:30. They'll show up at 4 o'clock, and then they'll call you and say, "Oh, you're not here. I've been waiting on you." And you'll say, "No, we said 4:30. And they'll say, "No, it was 4 o'clock. Don't you remember?" And, it'll be little things like that. And it makes you doubt yourself and doubt your reality. And that's what they want. Because if they can control your reality, then they control you. If they can control your emotions, then they control you, right? Because you have no sense of your own reality, nor do you have control of your emotions. So that's what gaslighting is used for. Next, we have some criticism. They'll do some criticism, little small criticism here and there. "Oh, baby, I noticed that you putting on a little weight." They'll say something like that. Or something that they know that you're insecure about. So say you're insecure about your hair. They'll take a little dig at your hair, and then they'll say, "Oh, no, babe, but I love you anyway. I don't care about that." But they know that that's an issue for you, right? This isn't I'm trying to be honest. Like, babe, that's not it right there. Like, I want you to go out the house looking good. This is, I'm going to slowly dig at your hair. Oh, if you have alopecia, they may say something about the thinning of your hair, make a joke about it. And then I'm just playing. Don't be so sensitive. It's okay. It's that kind of thing. It's a slow burn. It's little things. And they'll apologize for it. When it comes down to like violent behavior, they may throw something, or you may catch them losing their temper in a public setting, and they may be defending your honor. That's what they'll tell you. Or they may hit the wall instead of hit you. Little things like that. Pay attention to those things. Those are signs of what's to come. Okay. That's a person who can't manage their emotions and can be unsafe for you. But those little digs too is a sign of, I'm getting and priming you for future insults, and I'm priming you for future attacks on your character, your integrity, and your sense of self, most importantly. Then there is isolation. They'll start isolating you from people. They'll either want to take up all of your time so other people can't spend time with you. They'll complain about certain people. They'll complain about you not being available. They really work on isolating you. They'll tell you they don't like any of your friends. Now, sometimes there are some friends you need to get rid of, but this isn't that. This is truly them trying to separate you from everyone. They may even suggest that you relocate, things like that. So just be very mindful of that behavior. Another tool that's used is hot and cold and distance. They'll do a lot of that. You remember you had that love bombing phase where they were just giving you everything. They were spending all of their time with you and showering you with compliments and all these things. And then they slowly pull it back, or they abruptly pull it back. And then it leaves you wanting more and wondering what happens. And so basically what happens is you're trying to get back to the good times. You're trying to get that good feeling back. You want the rush of that oxytocin again, right? You want to feel that. They'll withdraw sex too. Sex is a weapon with these people, especially if they're good at it. So then they withdraw all of that from you. They become distant. They start acting funny. They become short. They become dry, because now they need you to chase them and chase that feeling. And they know that if they pull back and distance themselves, that is what they're going to do. Okay. So that's pretty much how that grooming process goes in short. And you then become bonded. Another thing that they do that I didn't mention is sometimes they'll share a lot of their traumas with you. And this isn't I'm sharing these because I want to be vulnerable with you. I'm sharing this because when things go bad, I want to be able to pull that out, and I want you to empathize for me. If they know you're an extremely empathetic, sympathetic, compassionate person, if they can pick up on that, they're going to use that to their advantage. So when they make that insult or throw or punch or whatever it is that they do, they can rely on, I get sad, I get frustrated because I didn't have a father, I didn't have a mother, I was rejected, everybody put me out on the street. And so if you start having a conversation with this person and they're telling you how everyone did them wrong, that's an issue, that's a red flag. I have a red flags video, I'll add that as well. So you want to get back to the good side. You want to get on their good grade. You want to get into their good graces. You want things to be back to the way they used to be. Then you start looking at self and wondering, what can I do? How can I make it better? How can I fix this? What am I doing wrong? Instead of looking at the actions of the person, this is really the time for you to say, you know what, this person isn't who I thought they were, or they're inconsistent. Let me distance myself. But a lot of times what we do, and it's part of nature, you want to get back. So you keep pushing forward to gain that information and gain that attention and get back to where we want to be. It's like crack. Not being funny, but you know how back in the day they used to say chasing a ghost, and addicts would say that first hit is the best hit, and they chase that hit. That's what this is like, okay? It's a very methodical process, so you just have to be very mindful and aware, which is why I'm sharing this information. So let's talk about healing. How do we heal from this bond that we have with this abusive individual? Healing from trauma bonding starts with a wake-up call. It starts with acknowledging what this relationship really was and who this person really was. You have to look at some hard truths. Sometimes we want to remain in the fantasy land. We want to be in the honeymoon stage for a long period of time. And this is the time where you kind of have to wake up and walk out of that. You have to acknowledge that this relationship wasn't safe, that this person isn't who they pretended to be, that their traumas aren't your responsibility to heal, right? We have to let those things go for ourselves. And that requires some self-work, but you really do need to really sit down and say, what is this relationship? How did this person love you? Sometimes I have coaching calls and I'll have individuals tell me all of these things that this person has done to them. And then I'll ask them, what keeps you anchored to this relationship? And sometimes people look at it and it's nothing. And then other times what they're holding to is an illusion. That's not who that person is. They'll say things like, oh, well, he's a really good person. He's a really kind person. And I don't really get into good and bad about people, because traumas do some very terrible things to people and make them do things that they normally would not do had they not had that traumatic experience, and not making excuses. But that is really the truth. But you can't do anything about that. That's self-work for that person. So if this person has shown you who they are time and time again, why do you feel like you're staying? And that is the truth in the conversation you have to have with yourself. You have to have a wake-up call. Why am I here? Why do I feel this person is who they are, and are they? If they're not, then that's one of the first steps. You also have to acknowledge what has happened and what has gone on. They have taken your money. They have left you in unsafe situations. They have allowed people to disrespect you. Whatever the behaviors were, the actions were, these things have happened, and this person has allowed that. So assess the situation and be very honest and transparent with yourself. No one else is around. Be honest with yourself, okay? Next, write out your feelings. Write out all of your feelings, your rawest feelings. When you look at them and see them, it changes things. Also, you can write out the good, the bad, and the indifferent about the relationship. Let me tell you this, we live in an all or nothing kind of society, but the truth is two things can coexist, right? Sometimes a person really was a good guy or a good person at the beginning of the relationship, and substances or certain things triggered them and caused them to go down a wrong way. You can acknowledge some of the things that they may have done that made you happy and made you feel good, while also acknowledging that they are not capable right now of loving you the way that you deserve to be loved, or giving themselves the way that you need a partner to give themselves to you or treat you. So it's okay to acknowledge all of these things. So write those things out. It'll just help you see the reality again. As you're writing out your feelings and dealing with these things, give yourself permission to grieve. We don't do that enough. Give yourself permission to grieve. Give yourself permission to be angry. Give yourself permission to be vulnerable. Give yourself permission to cry. Give yourself permission to go through the grieving process. If you want a video on grieving, let me know and I'll do that. But anger is part of that. And if you are angry, acknowledge that anger. When we suppress our feelings and emotions, it causes resentment, it causes more anger and frustration, and it hinders you from healing and moving forward. So go ahead and acknowledge everything that you feel and you think. Get it out, cry it out, write it out, say it out, scream it out, get it out, however works for you, okay? Another thing that's helpful is to write a letter to that person or do a voice memo or something like that. You don't have to send it, but just say really how you feel. You want to express yourself truly and honestly, so get that information out. Tell your truth, okay? It's a way for you to tell your truth. You don't have to share it with anyone, but if you do want to share it, share it. Know that if you share it, it doesn't mean it may change anything though, right? It'll just be you getting some things off your chest and out of your heart. But if you want to do it, do it. If you don't, don't. Next up, you have to forgive yourself. Okay? Forgive yourself because you just wanted to be loved, because you were fooled, you didn't see the mask, because you didn't know what you didn't know. There's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. There's a difference between intuition and wisdom. Give yourself permission to acknowledge that you didn't know, or that you just enjoyed the feeling. You're human, and it's okay to be human, okay? You were having a human experience and someone took advantage of you in your heart and you wanting to be loved, okay? So acknowledge that. That's okay. But you have to forgive yourself. Forgiving yourself means just letting go of the anger and the resentment, the negative self-talk, the tearing down. You know, a lot of times I'll hear people say, I was so stupid. Don't call yourself stupid. Don't talk to yourself that way. You're a human who wanted to be loved, and you're seeking love, and you saw it and this person took advantage. That is what really happened here. So acknowledge that versus tearing yourself down. Next up, it's time to do some inner work, and we have to heal our inner child a lot of times, or we have to heal us, whatever age and stage we were when there was a traumatic event that happened that allowed us to think that these certain patterns of behaviors were okay. And I didn't say this, but one thing you want to do is write down the patterns of your relationship and the people that you date. Like, what do they all have in common, right? What do all your relationships have in common? If you guys ever want to do a live where we talk about this, let me know. I can make it a private live. I'll make it a private Zoom call. Just let me know though, okay? But it's time to do inner child. Sometimes when we really look at the relationship, it isn't the person themselves. It isn't that person that we have an issue with. It is another person rejecting us, another person abandoning us, another person hurting us. It really isn't that person. It's just the circumstances and the situation we're having a hard time with, and we're reliving something from our past. Story time. I remember when I used to get so upset when people said, I'll call you back, and they didn't call me back. And once I had to ask myself, like, why are you so mad about this? And it was because of my own abandonment issues. It was me being abandoned all over again. I didn't know until I got into therapy and things like that it ran that deep. So sometimes it really isn't this relationship or this person that you are attached to. It is the fantasy of them, or it's you reliving the past and not healing part of you from your childhood, a parental dynamic. If, your parents left you, or if they were present but was not present emotionally, maybe they didn't speak to you, maybe they didn't hug you, maybe they didn't affirm you, maybe they didn't validate you, maybe they verbally tore you down. And this is familiar, that can happen too. Sometimes the dynamics of our romantic relationship is just a familiar place from how we grew up and how our parents treated us, or how we saw our parents treating one another, or them and their significant other. So there could be various factors that come into play there. But sometimes it just takes us doing inner child work. And you have to figure out, why is this where I keep landing? And a lot of times it's related to the relationship dynamic that you were conditioned to be in, right? Which is why it's so important to want to do that work. Next, get some help. Seek help however you can seek help. Again, you can get a therapist, seek out a therapist if you've been through some extreme traumatic events. If you've been in a really abusive relationship, you may want to get a therapist that focuses on trauma. And I say that because trauma therapy and trauma related therapy takes kind of a different dynamic and need than traditional. The next thing I'm going to say is get help. Seek help however you can seek help. You can get a therapist. You may need a trauma therapist. You may need a therapist that specializes in something that you have experienced, especially if there was a lot of abuse in your past and in this relationship, especially if it's been long term, because there can be some PTSD there. There can be some complex PTSD, which means it's long-term abuse there, and you may need a little more help than coaching. You can also have a coach, but I will say, for me personally as a coach, because I understand how working with trauma can re-traumatize you, I am very mindful about my clients who have had traumatic experiences. I am to motivate you, inspire you, to be your friend, your accountability partner. But when we talk about deep traumatic experiences, I'm very careful about that, and I'll ask you to work with a therapist also. If that is not possible, meaning you can get a therapist, there are books that I recommend. I am definitely here for you. Please know that. But just know that sometimes we need a little more help. And I am not too big in my ego to say, I can do it all. I work on healing, but traumatic events needs a specialist to work with, okay? There's also a lot of books that you can read. Again, I would recommend those. Sometimes I send my clients different videos to kind of give them some insight, a little more than they can get from trying to figure it out on their own. Coaching and therapy are different, and sometimes therapy is needed and isn't coaching. But you can get a free call me, we can talk about it, and I'll let you know whether I feel like you maybe need a therapist, or you are okay with us doing some coaching together, or I can just make recommendations for you. It's up to you. But yeah, seek some help. It's good to have people who are not actively in your life help you through those processes. Some of your friends and family don't have the tools to help you through what you're going through. Some of us don't recognize trauma when we see it. You don't think of it that way. And honestly, if I wasn't a nurse and I didn't have the knowledge that I had, and I didn't have a coaching business, and I didn't read and things like that, I wouldn't know it either. It would be norm to me as well. So if people don't know, they don't know. What we don't know, we don't know. Okay. And sometimes people are unaware of how damaging challenging and traumatic certain behaviors can be. And people are impacted differently through their experiences in life. So seek some help, okay? Next, you want to rebuild your life, and you know what you want to do. You want to build a life you love. You want to start exploring your hobbies. You want to get in shape. You want to do all of the things, work on your insecurities. Wherever you feel insecure, that's where you start working on. Pick one thing. It's weight, then start working out. Start taking walks. Start doing yoga. Start stretching. If it's your skin, see if you can find an esthetician or get some recommendations on how to clear your skin up, for example. Whatever those insecurities are, start working on them. Again, abandonment issues, attachment styles, and things like that, you would need help from a coach or a therapist. Contact a coach or a therapist for that kind of inner work, or there are books on those things. But work on the physical thing. Whatever you can work on, start working on it day by day, little by little, piece by piece, and it'll get you there, okay? Give yourself permission to heal. This is very important. A lot of people don't give themselves permission to heal. They feel like they have to stay in this place of anger and they won't move past that place. Give yourself permission to heal. It is okay to heal. It's okay to be better. It's okay to have a better life. It's okay to live your life. It's okay to be okay, right? But you have to give yourself permission to move on. This relationship is not your whole identity. You can move on from this, right? Being with someone isn't your identity, your whole identity. Find out who you are. Who are you, so you can stand alone in your beauty and your wisdom, okay? You want to do that. Give yourself permission to move past this situation and to heal. Lastly, affirm yourself. In the areas in which you want to build your self-esteem, affirm yourself in those areas. So if you want to be more confident, write daily, I am confident, I am beautiful, I am smart, I am hardworking, whatever it is. Write that down, recite that to yourself, read that to yourself, repeat that to yourself for 2 weeks to a month, and then you go on to the next thing. Or you can add on to your affirmations. Affirmations are important. Validate and affirm yourself, and then get rid of people who are toxic and people who want to keep you in that place, people who keep advising you to hold on. We don't want any mamas talking about that's a good man, Savannah, and you go ahead and stay. No, if you need to move out of that relationship, move out of that relationship. If it's not healthy for you, if it's not safe for you, give yourself permission to move forward and distance yourself and heal from the trauma bond that you two share, okay? So I hope this helps. Please let me know. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you. And please don't forget to love yourself for who you are. Have a great night. Take care. Bye-bye.